Never born.
Foreign minister reflects on the fallout of the failed coup in that nation.
And how does this man affect your wallet, the Federal Reserve Board and its chairman, and the way money works?
And Danny Aiello plays a man who changed history, Jack Ruby, the killer of Lee Harvey Oswald. And we'll be talking to him today, and we'll be hearing from Steve Poole as well.
Charlie, our back-to-work, back-to-school weather forecast calls for some thunderstorms to invade the Mississippi River Valley, raising the possibility of a little flooding.
All right, thanks very much. S. Christian, again off today. S. Poole, in from Seattle, filling in for him. Funny thing happened last night, if you happen to stay up waiting for Messrs. Gorbachev and Yeltsin. They canceled.
That didn't happen.
Well, because of the press of events in the Soviet Union and in the meeting of the present Congress, and massive reform plans going on there for which they must plan, so they took a rain check.
That's right.
Took a rain check, and that show is planned now for when the Congress is over, either on Wednesday or Thursday night. But I had slept all day yesterday.
So that you could stay
so
up
I could
and
get
watch
up and
it?
see it, and then I woke up only to find out it had been canceled. But
and boy, did you have a hard time going to sleep last night, probably.
But a great tennis match to watch yesterday afternoon. Was
that
Jimmy
exciting?
Connors something?
Let's hear it for the 39-year-old, huh?
Yeah, yay. Or as he would go,
Yes.
he was up for it yesterday.
All right, this is definitely a day for you. He loves books. Well, books, and more books, fiction, nonfiction, biographies, and thrillers, all to kind of curl up with in the cool months of autumn. Digby Deal, book columnist for Playboy magazine, brings the best of what will be in the bookstores this fall.
Dr. Tim Johnson will also be here. He, every once in a while, brings us a quiz. Today, a quiz on health issues that affect children. But first, we go to the news, and leading the news, the Soviet Congress debates the future of the Soviet Union. Mike Snyder has that story. Other news, Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. The Soviet Union will never be the same. That we know by now. The question is, what will it become? Soviet lawmakers once again today are facing a critical choice. Whether to approve a new power-sharing plan that could shift most of their power to the republics. ABC's Sheila Cast has more.
Demonstrators again greeted the members of Congress with placards and chants. Dissolve yourselves. These protesters consider the Congress a relic of a hardline communist government they want to change. Inside, Russian Republic President Boris Yeltsin also called for change. The new voluntary confederation backed by Gorbachev.
Control over nuclear power and the army should not be handed over to military hawks.
The Congress is debating whether to accept this new structure, a common army, wide latitude for each republic to call itself independent, with their political ties defined by a new treaty. It would shift power from this Congress to new councils, and some deputies warned against it. By now, conservatives have recovered from yesterday's shock at hearing the proposal and started to marshal arguments against it. Proponents argue a common army is needed to keep the republics from sliding into civil war. It would take a two-thirds vote to put the new plan in place.
Practically, the minority can control the situation.
Reformers already wonder what impact the new structure would have on the country.
We had in the past many Gorbachevs, different Gorbachevs. Maybe this one Gorbachev, if he'll be more radical, it'll be enough good.
It will be enough good. Damning with faint praise is pretty much what Gorbachev is getting today. Yeltsin told the Congress that Gorbachev had been indecisive, had been inconsistent in implementing reforms, and still, Yeltsin told the Congress that they should stick with Gorbachev, that he trusts Gorbachev more now than he did before the coup. So now it looks as if Gorbachev will come out of this Congress still in charge of the Soviet Union, but a union without much power. Mike?
Sheila, meantime, while they try to search around for some future for the Soviet Union, in some of the republics there is at least unease, and I understand in the Republic of Georgia there has been some violence.
Yes, there were demonstrations there yesterday by a group calling for the resignation of President Gamsahurdia. He is a conservative called by the press in this country a fascist. He is a separatist, a nationalist. He's certainly not a communist, but he's known to deal very resolutely with his opponents, and apparently that's what happened yesterday. 4 people were injured in that protest, Mike.
So what do? Does the central authority try to clamp down on them, or does it back off and let local authorities deal with it the way they want?
Right now, I think it's not clear how. There is not much central authority left in this country. It's really up to each republic. A president like Gamsahurdia, who's clearly in charge, is not going to do anything to let go of that kind of power. But as the independence decrees progress, and as more republics declare independence and try to implement it, there will be pockets of ethnic people in each republic who will try to claim their own independence. And the union could be fractured into many more than 15 pieces if that's allowed to continue, Mike.
Sheila, thanks very much. ABC's Sheila Cass live for us once again this morning in Moscow. President Bush combined business and pleasure yesterday on the last day of his summer vacation in Maine. The president did what the Soviet Congress still hasn't done, and that is officially recognize the three Baltic republics as independent. Mr. Bush returns to Washington today. He says he will be sending an envoy to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania to talk about opening embassies there rather soon. The president's decision to recognize the Baltics was welcome news in some neighborhoods of Chicago especially. Lithuanian and Latvian Americans getting together to toast the decision and what they believe will be better times ahead for the Baltic people.
It's like the final note in the grand symphony. It's here and it's great.
From now, the world is changed. It will be many problems, but these problems will be able to solve much easier.
Lithuanians are very hardworking people. They will be able to achieve what we have achieved here in a relatively short time.
And as you can hear, they wrapped up their celebration by singing God Bless America. ABC News is delaying its special town meeting with Mikhail Gorbachev and Boris Yeltsin at the request of the two leaders. They say they need some extra time now to take care of state matters. The live special could be broadcast as soon as tonight or tomorrow night. We will keep you posted on the time and the date of the broadcast. Other news this morning, an explosion blew the front off two apartment buildings in New York City overnight. At least 3 people were killed in the blast and the fire that followed. More than 20 other people were hurt. One of the tenants says that he smelled gas just before the explosion. In Portland, Oregon, Labor Day festivities at Waterfront Park got out of hand yesterday. It happened during an outdoor concert attended by about 20,000 people, many of them teenagers. Police say it was hot and the fans did get excited. Some of them tried to get very close to the stage and about 100 people were caught in a squeeze. Dozens suffered minor injuries. 6 people had to be taken to hospitals for treatment. Also making news this morning, a big story from sports. Last night's Monday Night Football game, a virtual replay of last January's NFC title game when the Giants beat the 49ers. In the fourth quarter now, 49er quarterback Steve Young scrambling for a 5-yard touchdown. That gave the 49ers the leading the game right there, 14-7. But in the final seconds, Matt Barr doing it again. He beat the 49ers last January. He did it again last night. A 35-yard field goal. New York wins the game 16-14. And also from New York, the U.S. Open, Jimmy Connors, his own dramatic finish, playing on his birthday, turning 39 years old. Connors beating 24-year-old Aaron Crickstein in a 5-set match lasting nearly 5 hours. Connors winning a 5th-set tiebreaker, the oldest player, by the way, in the open field, and he has now made it to the quarterfinals.
I mean, how can you not laugh about this? I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm out there and I'm playing against kids that are the greatest players in the world, and they're 15 years younger than I am, and I'm doing this. I mean, what the hell's going on here?
Good enough question to ask, I suppose. A lot of us could ask that question. That's the news till now. Time to check in with Joan and Steve.
The endurance you'd have to go that long. They all sang happy birthday to him at the end, which I thought was really great, too. Thanks. Steve Poole's here from KOMO in Seattle. He's filling in for Spencer Christian. He's got some weather, got a few thunderstorms, but got some hot weather as well.
Well, if you want to get the nice weather, either coastline will do you fine. It's the midsection where the problems are. Oh, yeah, you bet. And we'll show you on the satellite photograph. That's a really good way to see what...
Anticipate talking to him a little later in the broadcast, hopefully. In the meantime, we continue with David Jones talking about the economy. And you mentioned something earlier sort of interesting. You said George Bush wants to get reelected in 1992. So many people feel, Middle East wars notwithstanding, that an election depends on people's pocketbooks in July of the election year. Given your crystal ball, is it going to be good for the president then?
I don't really think so. I think this will be the big surprise, Charlie. I think that right now the president could not stand taller. He's handled every foreign crisis going back a year ago to the Persian Gulf War and going to Russia right now, handled it brilliantly. But there's one simple issue, and you hit the nail on the head. The issue is the pocketbook of the average American. We're not in the worst recession we've ever been in. Some areas of the country are in worse shape than others. But the simple fact of life is there's something bothering the average voter and the average consumer, and it's going to bother George Bush as we move into the first half of next year. That's where the surprise is going to be. This economy's just not going to have much spark as we go into that period.
So what we were talking about before, some kind of a dramatic move by the Fed. In other words, dropping the rates maybe 4 times what they normally would do at one little time. Could that do it, or is it a consumer confidence that we're talking about here?
Well, the interesting thing is, Joan, the Fed has already dropped interest rates by a lot. If we go back to mid-1989, short-term interest rates were almost 10%.
Yeah.
Now they're 5%, in essence, or just a little bit above. We've already come down a lot. And guess what? Banks haven't lowered their interest rates very much.
Because you've got
They're
the
trying to
banking
make up their
problems.
losses,
You've got the
right?
terrible banking problems.
Absolutely right. It's a completely different story. And the banking problem is the difference in this recession, and nobody is paying enough attention. Banks are in trouble because they made a lot of bad loans in the 1980s. Too many excesses in real estate and in business takeovers and other things. And what banks are having to do is to keep rates to you and I very high, even though the Fed is moving the cost of bank money down. So we, as the average person on Main Street, don't see the effects of this Fed easing. Greenspan may have to do this dramatic thing, but I'm not sure how well it's going to work.
One quick question in the minute and a half we have left, since Mr. Bushmertnick hasn't shown. Let me ask you something that I think puzzles so many people, the problems of Salomon Brothers, and the fact that some of their leaders had to resign rather dramatically, and they are accused of improprieties in the government securities market. How does that affect the guy out in the street, the government securities market? This is a firm buying massive amounts of government securities and maybe taking liberties at the edge. How does that affect people?
Look at it this way. It's the biggest market we've got. It's the biggest game in town. Trading in the government securities market is $115 billion in terms of activity per day. A good stock market day is 200 million shares. So, in effect, it's the biggest and deepest market. It's also the market. It's also the market in which the government has to raise in 1992 $362 billion, unheard of in terms of debt. It's at the heartbeat of the country. If a firm cheats in that market, if one of the key players in that market cheat, then the average person on Main Street is going to say, I'm not sure whether I should be buying that debt. Then the government's going to have trouble, interest rates will go up, and you and I will have even more trouble borrowing to buy. So the answer is, if somebody breaks the rules in that market, they have to be penalized.
One more problem area in the economy. Thanks very much, David. Good to have you with us, as always.
Thank you.
Coming up on 23 After, we'll be back. Sidney Sheldon with us later this morning.
If you love chocolate bars, you better.
That Russia would not seek to dominate other republics in the loose federation of he supports, along with Mikhail Gorbachev. As Yeltsin put it, Russia will be an equal among equals. Conservative hardliners oppose that plan. They say it could lead to chaos. Back in this country, President Bush is taking a break from affairs of state this morning to promote educational excellence by visiting public schools in Maine. This one day after he gave Baltic independence a major boost by announcing U.S. recognition of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Randall Pinkston has more.
After waiting a week for Soviet officials to take the first step to free the Baltic republics, President Bush decided it was time for the U.S. to act.
The United States has always supported the independence of the Baltic states and is now prepared immediately to establish diplomatic relations with their governments.
Senior administration officials revealed a series of confidential communications between the president and Gorbachev leading up to the announcement. Last Tuesday, as the president's top foreign policy advisors arrived in Kennebunkport, President Bush sent Soviet leader Gorbachev a cable setting Friday as a date for U.S. recognition of the Baltics. On Friday, as British Prime Minister John Major concluded his visit to Kennebunkport, Gorbachev's aide called asking for more time. Mr. Bush agreed to delay his announcement until Monday. Sunday, as the president wrapped up his vacation, Gorbachev cabled Mr. Bush to thank him for his support.
I like to think that some of these positive statements might, perhaps indirectly, but might be a result of a policy of taking a day or two more, not being stampeded into something the whole world knew we were going to do in the first place.
The Bush administration will now establish separate embassies in each one of the Baltic republics. And recognizing that independence is more than a word, the president is sending a team of State Department specialists to help the leaders of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia make independence a reality. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, with the president in Kennebunkport.
In Nashville this morning, country singer Dottie West is reported near death. West was hurt in a car crash last Friday. 2 operations have failed to stem bleeding from a ruptured liver and spleen. Doctors plan more surgery tomorrow, but they say the chances of the 58-year-old West surviving are dim at this point. Television preacher Robert Schuller is recovering in a Dutch hospital from surgery for a brain hemorrhage. Schuller, who conducts the Hour of Power TV ministry, banged his head while getting into a car in Amsterdam. He was later found unconscious in his hotel room. Schuller is pastor of the Crystal Cathedral in California. He is 64 years old. And finally, in Iowa yesterday, it was a dream come true for a group of celebrity baseball players. Actors from L.A. Law, Cheers, and other shows took on a team of retired baseball players on the diamond made famous in the movie Field of Dreams. Despite a home run by Reggie Jackson, the actors beat the baseball stars 9-4. The game raised more than $50,000 for Iowa charities. That's the news at 25 minutes before the hour. I know two guys who would love to have been out there yesterday giving Reggie some trouble.
Reggie still has
exactly the same.
We haven't seen for a couple of days. I woke up this morning and I said, Robert Krulwich is going to be on, and I hope he does an Ask About segment. Bob?
Today, Harry, you guessed right. We are going to ask about danger at dinner. Now, I know a lot of you are worried about this topic, so without much ado, let's go on to our first question, please.
Yo, Robert, what's the most dangerous thing that could happen to you at dinner? I'm Bill.
Well, Bill, you could die. That's the most dangerous thing that could happen to you at dinner, and that is why the ancient Greeks invented the custom of toasting, you know, drinking to the health of your guests. Toasting, Bill, toasting is what kept them alive.
I don't get it, Robert. What does toasting have to do with staying alive?
Well, it's very simple, Bill. You go back into history, and what do you find?
As demonstrated in this Danny Kaye film,
Tend to your duties. Serve your duties.
Professor Margaret Visser of York University in Toronto, in her new book, The Rituals of Dinner, reports that Europeans offered a beverage by friends, relatives, or political rivals experienced regular, extensive, and numerous incidents of poisoning.
They are all dead, Fire.
So great was this fear of poisoning that the guests wanted to see the host drink first. So he would pour out the drinks into everybody's glasses, he would hold up his glass, he would sip first, and if he didn't die, the guests felt, okay, it's safe to drink. That is how toasts began. The word toast, by the way, Bill, comes from an old Roman practice. If a family had some old wine lying around going stale, they would take a piece of burnt toast and put it into the wine. The toast made the wine less vinegary, so that is why hoisting a glass of wine over time became making a toast. Next question, please.
Robert, for years I've been wondering, was silverware always as safe as it is today? I'm Ruthie.
No, Ruthie, silverware was actually very dangerous, and particularly the table knife. Until the 1600s, table knives were sharp on both sides and came to a very sharp point at the tip, and most alarming, gentlemen all over Europe used them to pick their teeth. This practice was so dangerous to the mouth and gums and so vulgar that in 1669, France's Cardinal Richelieu ordered all the knives at his home gathered up, and he had their tips cut off. Now, with that act, Cardinal Richelieu created the much safer modern round-tipped dinner knife, which we now all use all over the world. So we're going to thank Cardinal Richelieu for dramatically reducing danger at dinner. Thank you, Cardinal, and I think we have 1 minute left.
Robert.
Yes.
One last question. Does anybody still hire food tasters to make sure they're not being poisoned? I'm Brad.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brad. I'm afraid there are fewer and fewer job opportunities in the food tasting field. After all, who hires food tasters? Very nervous people. And these days, there just aren't as many as they used to be. Saddam Hussein, he's nervous. He has food tasters. But Saddam does not compare to a seriously nervous person like Emperor Hirohito of Japan. Before Hirohito drank or ate a meal, he ordered a chemical analysis of every food, every beverage. He had his plates and his glasses sterilized. He had food tasters taste everything he touched. Now, that's nervous. But worse than Hirohito, king of nervous, was Nicolae Ceausescu, president of Romania. He thought everybody wanted to poison him. He even brought a food taster to Buckingham Palace in 1978 to make sure Queen Elizabeth didn't try to knock him off at dinner. And in an act that nobody has equaled, Ceausescu hired a food taster for his family dog, Corbu. Every time they put dog food in Corbu's dish, a person had to taste it first. With Ceausescu gone and Hirohito gone, the food tasting business perhaps just hasn't been the same. I'm afraid, though, we are out of time. So I want to thank all of you for asking about danger at dinner.